tried your hardest to move on from it and be a better person and learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. Deep down at my core, I know what you're saying is right, and I agree. I just think, unfortunately, because of the nature of the tweets and the company that Disney is, their bread and butter is literally kids.
Yeah.
I just don't think they could have said, you know what, it's okay, he was that guy then, he's not now. I just think once they're out there, they were worried about the parents seeing these tweets, their kids seeing these tweets, and just, I think they had to do it.
Well, see, I think the trouble is, and what's created the most amount of controversy out of all of this from the people that are in defence of James Gunn, is the fact that it was so reactionary. I mean, it's like these tweets came out and instantly Disney went, bye.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there should have been an investigation.
That they knew about them. I think they had to have known about them.
Like, I mean, at least if they'd have held it off for a bit and said, look, we're going to put an investigation into this, we're going to see, you know, is there anything going on behind the scenes that we need to be aware of? But they didn't. It was just instant, and it wasn't from Marvel. It was directly from Disney.
Because apparently Marvel have asked Disney to take him back, and Disney said no.
They've asked him to consider it. In fact, even the story came out there today, I think it was. There's no way they're coming back. Kevin Feige, who is the sort of president of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he wasn't present at this meeting. I think it was the Disney CEOs that basically sat down and said, look, we're not playing ball here. You've done this. Bye-bye.
Yeah. To me, it feels like, you imagine you go for a job to work in a garage or something, when you're a kid of 15, you broke into a couple of cars or something, you bring this up in an interview, and the guy says, look, you know what, I'm going to hire you because I like you and I think you're the guy for the job. But if head office finds out about these things, we're going to have to let you go. And I think it's that on a massive scale.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's that on a massive scale.
At the end of the day, it's incredibly unfortunate the way it played out.
It is. And I have no doubt from what I've seen of James Gunn that he's a good guy. I don't, these tweets imply that he is a monster. I don't by any means think that James Gunn is this guy.
The worst thing is, and again, something you'll hear whenever we're playing the Paul Feig interview, is that the media at large seem to have this agenda-driven focus. And the way that they reported those tweets has left a lot of the fan base and a lot of the community, and a lot of people that don't really follow this, thinking that he is the person that he was joking that he was, without going into context.
But do you think as well that given the world that we live in now, that's also understandable? When you look at things like the Me Too movement,
absolutely, Harvey Weinstein
thing and all of these things, there's just this idea that there's this horrible cesspool in Hollywood, which there undoubtedly is.
There's always been one. It's just the fact that people are finally now starting to step up and be vocal about it and say, no, there are monsters under the bed in Hollywood.
Yeah, but unfortunately, James Gunn created this persona. Again, we don't know this for definite, but to me, this is what it feels like. He created this persona where he was one of these monsters, and people are like, "Oh my god, this guy has to go because he's one of these monsters," which he probably isn't.
I think it's more sort of the fact that in this day and age, and in this outrage culture that we're living in, where just no one can tell what's a joke anymore. Yeah, no one can tell what's funny. Like there's a great line I heard in Family Guy a couple of years ago where like Chris or Meg makes a joke or something like that, and one of the students at the school says, "We live in a post-joke world now."
Post-joke world, yeah,
and that's exactly what it is. Yeah. We live in a post-joke world where you can't say anything that's provocative or absolute nonsense these days without someone going, "Oh my god, that's you."
Okay, right. Here's what we're going to do tonight. The big thing that we have tonight, this is our first show, and we wanted to come back in style. So as we touted when the show kicked off a few minutes ago, our first big interview is with director and writer Paul Feig, who made Ghostbusters Answer the Call, which came out just over 2 years ago. So we sat down a few weeks ago with him, and we had a really, really good chat. I'm Mark.
I'm Saxon.
And this is this week's big interview.
Hi, I'm Paul Feig, director of Ghostbusters Answer the Call, and you are listening to Following the Nerd. There's nothing I would have loved more than a full-on Ghostbusters reunion 2. That, to me, was always the one that I know everybody was kind of looking forward to. Amy Pascal kind of contacted me and was like, why doesn't anybody want to do this? We went out to lunch, and I sat with her for an hour and kind of unspooled all the reasons why you shouldn't touch Ghostbusters. I've got all these funny women. I love working with funny women. And here's a way to make it different so, in my head, it wouldn't get compared to the original Ghostbusters. There are a lot of people who have very legitimate complaints that it was not a sequel, but my Twitter feed was filled with about 80 to 90% ugly, name-calling, violent misogyny. In a moment of needing a vent, I wrote back, "You've been hammering my cast and I with misogyny for all this time. So go F yourself." Some other people I know wrote me and was like, "You should not have put that up." And that's what the media picks up on. And look, the media made the Ghostbusters thing worse than it ever needed to be. "Thanks for ruining my childhood" is going to be written on my tombstone because I heard it so many times out of these people. I fully own that, sure, it could have been a sequel and somebody else could have done it and made it a sequel and made it awesome. They didn't go to those people. They went to me. And, I'm sorry to whoever didn't get what they wanted out of the movie. But again, it was me, and they, and that's how I chose to do it.
Whenever all this madness was going on, you had written, just what you sort of said there now, that you're on these profiles, and you're like, 9 times out of 10 it's a guy, and he's 40 years of age, and he's got a good job and a couple of kids, and I'm like, I'm a guy, I'm 40 years of age, I got 2 kids, what the hell?
When it gets to the level of just ugliness, and Katie Dippold and I wished that we would get run over by a bus and die choking on our own blood. You're like, well, that's kind of harsh.
So you got to judge these on points of creativity.
Yeah,
that was quite creative. Not
only some thought into it.
Yeah, not only just getting hit by a bus, but choking on your own blood to that.
Yeah.
There's creativity there. If only they would channel it into something positive.
Yeah, there's a flair.
Following the Nerd is awesome. Everybody listen to it all the time.
Hi, it's your old buddy Saxon. Those were just some snippets from our interview with Paul Feig. You can find the full interview on www.followingthenerd.com or by searching Following the Nerd on Spreaker Web Radio. But for now, it's back to the show.
Hi, I'm Ernie Hudson, Winston Zeddemore from Ghostbusters, and I'm following the Nerd.
Hello, this is John Leeson.
But he doesn't sound like that.
The voice of K9, and I am following the Nerd.
Okay, so there you go. That was our first big interview, Paul Feig.
The one and only.
What a lovely
Paul
guy.
Feig.
What a lovely guy.
Amazing, such a nice person to talk to. And do you know what? It gave me a new perspective on the movie.
Yes.
After actually sitting down and talking to him, and obviously that's an edited version. I think we're discussing putting it out as a podcast.
We're going to put it out
in and
the
of
next week
itself.
or so, yeah.
So you'll get to listen to you'll get the full Feig experience, whenever that comes out. But honestly, after sitting down and talking to him, wonderful man, nicest guy in the world, and actually listening to how he approached it, where he said, Ghostbusters is an amazing franchise, but I haven't had a movie in 25 years. And it's just sitting there. I want to do something with it.
Yeah.
So, to me, watching Ghostbusters Answer the Call now, it's like a little sort of offshoot. It's its own little thing. It's Paul Feig presents Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that all the more now for knowing that.
Do you know, the full interview, Saxon, as you said, is 45 minutes. We are going to put it out on followingthenerd.com in the next week or so. Paul was very specific while he talked to us that he didn't want to be edited because he was always afraid of whatever he was saying being misrepresented. You nitpick, you take this wee bit and this wee bit, and suddenly he's saying this and he's saying that. But what he said, as I said, my point was, and I think this is a good analogy for everybody out there, anybody that's listening to the show right now, whether it comes to your favourite comics, your favourite movies, your politics, in the Donald Trump era, there's people tearing each other's hair out in the streets over this sort of nonsense here. But what he said to us was, you guys were pretty harsh on me to start with, which I thought was a little unfair, but I know what he means. He says, but now, we're sitting and we're having this conversation, and and it reminds me of that famous Peter Capaldi Doctor Who speech, where he says as well, you throw your bombs and you shoot people and you blow stuff up, and eventually you're just going to have to sit down and talk.
Yeah. And
no matter what, okay, short of having murdered somebody's brother or something, but if it's small stuff, if your neighbour's a Donald Trump supporter, if your neighbour thinks Star Wars The Last Jedi was the best movie ever to be made, if your neighbour thinks that the last Ghostbusters movie was better than the original, you know what? So what?
Yeah.
So what? Because this is a journey. We're all on the same journey. Chill.
Yeah, we're all entitled to our own opinions.
Yeah.
You don't have to kill each other over it because, it takes all sorts to make a world in the end of the day, doesn't it?
It does.
What may be right for you may not be right for some.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm not being philosophical here, but this is, no matter, it always boils down to even the smallest things. Eventually, you're just going to have to go, you know what? let's just chat about this. Let's
Yeah.
just talk this out. And that is, I think, is the way we need to start going. None of this far right, far left nonsense. Just sit down
Yeah.
and talk. Just sit down and talk. Because we're all neighbours. We're all friends. It all has to just be sorted out.
Absolutely, yeah. So
And on that note,
yeah, we're going to have a bit of a love-in.
today we lost one of the greatest singers of all time.
We lost an icon of soul.
And absolutely, because even on Following the Nerd, normally we don't really, music isn't our thing. It's one of the things we don't touch on because it's so vast. But even I had to post on today and say, look, you know what? Aretha Franklin died today. She was 76. She was the voice, the queen of soul.
Yeah.
She defined, she was a big part of the Black Right movement. She was a big part of the feminist movement. She was a big part of, everything that was important in the last 50, 60, 70 years. Aretha was there. And it's just... Somebody put on Twitter today, I thought this was really nice, saying, I don't know why it's sad that Aretha Franklin died, because she had such an amazing life.
Yeah.
It's to be celebrated, not to be sorry. I think it's more sad for the world
It is indeed.
that we don't have Aretha in it anymore. Right, so as we said, it's a while since we've done the show.
3 odd years.
3 odd years. And they have
3
been
incredibly
very
odd years.
But one of the big things, one of the biggest things, and we've talked about James Gunn, we've talked about Ghostbusters, we've talked about this whole new offensive post-joke era.
Yeah.
We've talked about all of that, but one of the big things we haven't talked about is Star Wars.
Yes.
Star Wars is back.
In a massive, massive way. Because, I
can't believe we haven't talked about this.
Yeah, the last time that we were on air, we were gearing up for The Force Awakens.
Wow.
I think we'd just about gotten the second trailer for it.
Wow.
And we were coming up with all these predictions and theories, who's Finn, who's Rey, and this, that, and the other. It's almost like we've gotten into a time machine. 3 years later, we know who all these characters are now.
And look where we are now. The
Yeah,
fan base is killing each other.
If fan base cutting each other in half, this is mad crack. We couldn't have predicted this if we tried.
Yeah. Wow. So we've had The Force Awakens, we've had Rogue One, we've had The Last Jedi, and we've had Solo. So
yeah.
we've had 4 Star Wars movies.
And I'll be completely honest with you, I enjoyed all 4.
Okay, controversial.
Yep.
Controversial.
Yeah.
You're wrong. No,
Okay.
I loved The Force Awakens. I loved Rogue One.
Yep.
I didn't love The Last Jedi. I loved Solo.
Right.
I didn't love The Last Jedi.
Are we getting into this? Are we getting into
No,
this?
I don't think we'll get into it too much. Because I don't think there's anything that we can say that hasn't been said loudly and aggressively online.
This is the special 3-hour extended cut of the Following the Nerd show where Mark rants for an hour about how much he didn't like The Last Jedi.
I'm not going to rant at all. I think we both... we've obviously off air because we are friends outside of the studio. We've talked about this a lot. Star Wars came back with The Force Awakens. It was pure Star Wars. It was pure fun. It was pure joy.
Indeed it was, yes.
It was great. It was really good. I loved The Force Awakens. I've watched that movie so many times. And it was great because my daughter Faith is listening here at the minute as well. And it was great because she had Rey. She had a wee thing for...
Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all had a wee thing for Poe Dameron, like to be
even
honest.
the straightest of us had a thing for Poe Dameron.
Well.
But we had Rey, we had Finn, we had Poe Dameron. It was a great movie. It was a really good movie. And then Rogue One was great as well. It was pure old school original trilogy Star Wars.
It was absolutely fantastic, start to finish. It's the movie that I always wanted to see as a kid.
Yeah,
because it always cut away from the bit where the rebels are attacking to the more personal stuff between Luke and Vader or what have you. I was going, but no, I want to see TIE fighters blow up, and I want to see ATSTs and AT-ATs and all this nonsense going on.
We got it with Rogue One,
full movie
in droves, in droves. And do you remember the first trailer where it showed them putting the disc into the Death Star and the camera panned back and it was amazing.
And I know it was CGI, but they looked like models that you would see in the 70s.
Yeah.
It looked like proper old school filmmaking.
And I remember in the trailer, the bit that won me over in the trailer, if you can think back to the first trailer, and it showed a wee bit from the space battle at the end.
Yeah.
And the X-Wing did that weird judder thing that it did because it was models in the original movie, and they did it exactly. And I remember watching it going, oh my God. 40 years I've waited for this. 40 years. The movie's not great.
No, but it's forgivable.
It's so forgivable.
Yeah.
It's so because it's just the last 45 minutes.
It's a thrill ride.
And it hits you in the feels.
It really does.
It hits you in the feels.
And especially the little accompanying end piece, the epilogue, if you will, of the movie on aboard the Tantive 4.
Yeah. Oh. But I am one with the Force.
And the Force is with me.
Unreal. Such a good movie. Such a good movie.